My name is Anita Moorjani, and I'm the author of two books called Dying to Be Me and What If This Is Heaven? And you're probably wondering, if you don't know me, what are these books about, or what do I talk about, or even what the interview is about, which is on the Hay House Summit. So I had cancer, and in fact, February the 2nd, 2006 should have been the last day of my life. On that day, I was on my deathbed and I was in a coma, and the doctors told my family that I would not be coming out of the coma. But while I was in the coma, I experienced incredible clarity, where I understood not only why I had cancer, but I understood my purpose here in this world. Now, the cancer that I had was lymphoma, which had spread all over my lymphatic system. But while I was in the coma, I met my dad, who had passed away 10 years prior, and he told me that I had to go back into my physical body. At first, I did not want to come back because it was so amazing in that realm. In that realm, I felt this connection with everything. It's like we are all connected. Every single one of us are connected. But I felt connected with all of nature, with everything and everyone. And I felt loved unconditionally. And all the pain and the discomfort of being sick was all gone. So why would I want to come back here? But my dad wanted me to know that my purpose hadn't been fulfilled yet, and I needed to come back. He wanted me to know that my purpose was linked with my husband's purpose. And so when I started to understand the clarity of why I had got the cancer and what my purpose was, I actually wanted to come back. I actually became excited to come back into my physical body. And when I made the decision to come back, my dad said to me, "Go back and live your life fearlessly." As I came out of the coma, I had been in the coma for about 30 hours. My physical body healed very, very rapidly. Within 4 days, the tumors shrunk by 70%. Within 5 weeks, the doctors could find no trace of cancer in my body. And my medical records, they couldn't explain it. They didn't know what to write in my medical records. And the doctors have even sent my medical records to different labs and cancer research labs all over the world, and nobody can explain it. In fact, even Dr. Oz has had me on his show. He's about to have me on again for the second time later this month. But even Dr. Oz's people have scrutinized my medical records, and they couldn't explain it, so they had me on my show. Well, anyway, what I wanted to talk about was the reason why I feel I came back. I believe that all of us our true purpose is just to be who we are. But this interview that I've done with the Hay House Summit, it's called Creating Heaven in a Fear-Based World. I truly believe that we all come here to create heaven. When I was in the other realm and I made that decision to come back, I made that decision and I was excited to come here because I felt I got it. I understood it. I understood why I had got cancer. I understood why I was suffering. I understood life is not supposed to be so hellish, or that we're not supposed to suffer that much. Of course, there's contrast here, but it's not supposed to be an ongoing struggle. And so I realized that heaven is not a place, but it's a state of being. And now I was being given an opportunity to come here into the physical and recreate that state here, to feel it. And so that's why I was excited to try it. When I came back into this physical world and I had to integrate back into life again, it wasn't that easy. And I'll tell you why it wasn't that easy. It was because I now felt that I understood how to at least create for myself heaven on earth. But it felt like everybody around me was going against everything that I now believed. In other words, what I believed was in sharp contrast to the paradigm I was living in. It was in sharp contrast to what everyone around me believed in. So it felt like everybody was creating a personal hell, if you will, But I wanted to shout from the rooftops, this is not how you do it. We've all been taught the wrong things. Everything we've been taught is the opposite of what we actually need to know in order for our lives to work. Everything we've been taught is the opposite. We've been taught to live in fear. We've been taught to fear strangers, fear competition, fear scarcity, fear everything. Basically, we have been taught, our governments teach us fear, our education systems teach us fear, many of our religious teachings are fear-based. We're all fear-based. We fear failing, we fear not being good enough, we fear violence, we fear poverty. But actually, we should have been taught love from the beginning. We should have been taught to love our neighbors, not fear them. And we should have been taught that we're all connected. We should have been taught that collaboration is better than competition, because competition comes from fear. We should have been taught that instead of being greedy and hoarding our money, we need to share because there's abundance. Because again, hoarding and being greedy is fear-based. Building walls and keeping our neighbors out is fear-based. So we have been taught fear. We've been taught the opposite of what we need to know. And if we all knew, if we all experienced the kind of experience I had where we know that we're all connected and we're actually all yearning for that connection, but we're going about it the wrong way. We're using fear to protect ourselves from everyone instead of opening ourselves out to everybody and realizing that actually we are yearning love. We're yearning love, and that the solution to every problem is love. Every time we feel fear, it's an invitation to love more, to love ourselves more, to love other people more. Every fear-based call is an invitation to love more. But what we do is we do the opposite. When we feel fear, we act out. We act out in violence. We build walls. We use weapons. So everything we do is the complete opposite of what we should be doing. When I first started sharing my message, when I first came back, that was 11 years ago. So 11 years ago was supposed to be the last day of my life when the doctors said I only had a few hours to live. And here I am today still sharing my message. When I first started telling people that I came back because I realized it wasn't my time, it was because I had a purpose. And truly our purpose is only to be who we are. And when I started sharing with people that we're not supposed to be so fear-based, we're supposed to choose our jobs out of what we love to do, out of our passion. At first, people thought I was really delusional, and so it was really hard to integrate back. But I couldn't go back to being the person I was before. I persisted. I couldn't go back to being the person I was before because that was the person that got cancer. And now it doesn't matter to me if people think I'm delusional or not, because I truly believe that if we love, if we realize we're not supposed to be fear-based, we can actually heal the world one person at a time, including all the starving children that don't have enough to eat, because it is because of fear that some people hoard. And now, I can 11 years on, I look back at my life and I feel so blessed at everything that's happened, because Wayne Dyer discovered my story on the internet. And he was the one that encouraged me to write a book. And he told Hay House to track me down and find me. And Hay House found me and published my book. And I went on to become a speaker and also to write a second book. So the last time somebody said I was delusional because of what I believed, I almost fell off my unicorn. And speaking of unicorns, I just love unicorns. I just bought one yesterday, which I'm so excited about, which I wear around my neck. So don't be afraid to be your own person. Follow your own heart. Follow your dreams. And you know what? I'd love to take some questions from you right now. So if you would just type them in the comments below. Just type your question, and I have somebody with me who will read them out to me. And also, I just want to remind you over and over again that the only solution to fear is love, and love is actually the solution to every single problem that we have in the world. So let me get some questions. Oh, and I'm looking at all your names popping up. Thank you for all the hearts. Just look at all the hearts. And I see, yes, Maria Perota, God bless Wayne Dyer. Absolutely. I mean, I miss him, and I know he's still around, and I know he's still helping me, and he's helping us, and he's still very much here. And I bless him every day for being such a godsend in my life and setting me in the direction that I'm in right now. And yes.
Shiloh asks, how do you stay out of a fear-based mentality?
So that's a great question. It's not possible in this world we live in to avoid it, so the thing is to walk straight into it. When you feel the fear, don't avoid it, because the more you avoid it, the more you fear the fear, the more you will feel it. So I'm sure many of you will relate to this, where you think, I shouldn't be feeling fear, but I'm feeling it. And then you start fearing that feeling of fear. Don't do that. When you feel fear, embrace it. Just embrace it, and it will pass. And the way to do it is then to just start slowly asking yourself, how can I love myself more? What area of my life am I not loving? But don't judge yourself for feeling the fear. It's part of nature. It's part of your evolution. We're built with instincts of fear. But what I'm encouraging you to do is to try and understand the fear, understand where it's coming from. Don't judge it. Don't suppress it. Don't fear it. And just embrace it, understand it, and ask it, what are you here to show me? How are you here to show me to love myself more? In what ways are you inviting me to love more? So thank you for that question.
Mary asks, how do we learn to forgive people that have hurt us?
So the way that you learn to forgive people, there are many ways, and I'm going to share the way that I use. If I find it really difficult to talk to somebody who's hurt me, if it's too painful to talk to them, or you think it's going to be even more complicated, what I would start to do is I would just visualize them, like in my prayer or at night before going to bed, like as part of a meditation or a prayer. I would just visualize myself having a conversation with them and telling them that I love you and I forgive you for what you have done. And what I want you to tell yourself is that whatever it is they've done from their own hurt. And if you find that what they've done is really painful and you can't deal with them, I don't want you to feel guilty if you have to remove yourself from their life. You need to take care of yourself. So don't feel guilty if you need to remove yourself, if you need to move on. The reason you forgive someone is for yourself. It doesn't matter whether they forgive you back or whether they apologize to you or not. You forgive them so you can move on. And so if you're having trouble moving on, that's when you do the visualization or the prayer. You do it to release them. You say, thank you for the lessons. I know at some level we must have made a commitment to do this. You might have hurt me for a reason. I don't know what the reason is now, but it might come up in the future. But I thank you for it, and I'm ready to move on. And when you are able to visualize it, when you're able to give them a hug in your mind, in your vision, you can even go as far as allow yourself to visualize them responding to you in a way that you would like them to respond to you. Have them apologize to you in your vision, and then move on.
Angelica asks, how can we deal with deep pain, like if someone loses a child?
I am so sorry if you or someone you know has lost a child. That is a very deep pain. And the biggest thing I can say is give yourself time to heal, and don't judge yourself for needing time to heal the pain. And don't judge yourself if in your grief you go 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And don't feel you have to be there for other people. There will be people who love you and who don't know what to say to you. And you may feel that, oh, I don't want to hurt them and they're saying things and I need to respond. Don't take on anything you can't take. This is your time to just heal and take all the time you need. That's what I would say. And if you are supporting someone who's lost a child, the only thing you need to say to them is, I'm here. I'm here for you in whatever capacity you need. That's it. Just be there for them. Don't give them advice. Don't tell them how they should heal, how they should deal with it, but just be there for them. Interestingly enough, I actually speak about that, exactly that situation in my more recent book, What If This Is Heaven? But thank you for your beautiful question.
Nadia says she believes that love is the answer, but what do you do when you are faced with ignorance and real violence?
When you're faced with ignorance, I guess it would depend on the context, because I don't try to convince people of anything. If I'm faced with violence, I would definitely remove myself from the situation. When I say that we need to love ourselves, or the solution to everything, every problem is love, we need to love ourselves. That if we are in a situation that can be a threat to ourselves, we need to love ourselves enough to remove ourselves from that situation. Whether it's a verbally abusive situation, a mentally abusive or physically abusive, we need to remove ourselves. What a lot of people write to me and they say, I am living with an abusive person or abusive partner or abusive member of my family, but how can I love them unconditionally? My first suggestion to you is love yourself unconditionally. Absolutely love yourself unconditionally first, because you cannot love others unconditionally until you love yourself unconditionally first. Because when you take care of yourself, you teach other people how you want to be treated or taken care of. And so that is the most important thing. So if you are in a situation that could be violent, remove yourself from it and don't feel guilty, no matter who the person is.
Jose asks, how can I deal with loneliness?
Loneliness is actually extremely common. And there are many people in this world, sadly, who deal with loneliness. And it's a huge problem is because of the way we've been brought up and the way we've been taught, which I said to you is the opposite of the way that we need to be taught. Most of us are taught to fear strangers and to fear people and to fear vulnerability and to fear showing ourselves and fear falling in love and fear getting close to people. So in the end, what does this do? It makes us lonely. If you're lonely, don't be afraid to show yourself. Show up at places you've never shown up before. Share yourself. Be vulnerable. People will love you more. They truly will. And you know, when I was in the other realm and my dad said to me, go back and live your life fearlessly, you know what he really meant when he said live your life fearlessly? He didn't necessarily mean jump out of a plane with a parachute. I mean, I can do that if I wanted to, but that's not what he was referring to. What he was referring to was be yourself fearlessly. Be yourself fearlessly. That means don't be afraid of what other people are saying about you. Don't be afraid of shame. Shame is actually one of the biggest things, the biggest emotions that cause us to lose ourselves, because we're so concerned with what other people are saying about us. Chances are people aren't even saying anything about us. They probably don't even remember who we are. So be fearless about being who you are, and be fearless about talking to people and connecting with people and showing your vulnerability.
Would you like to do one last question?
Okay, one last question.
Okay. Radhika is asking, how can I teach my son to be fearless? She feels kind of helpless trying to help him be fearless, and he has a lot of fears about being alone in school and everywhere. What can she do for him?
So here's what I'm sensing is that your son is picking this up from you. Children learn from who we are. Our children learn from who we are, not what we say to them. So my suggestion to Radhika is check in with yourself. Are you fearful? As you live your life more fearlessly, your son will absorb that from you. So you don't need to show him anything, teach him anything. You just need to be a role model for him. So be it yourself. Live your truth yourself, and he'll follow you. That's all there is to it. And so, I want to thank you all for tuning in.